And winning in life is no accident. Creating individual success is like having a recipe for a great meal. It only works if you know how to use the ingredients. As a best-selling author, entrepreneur, business coach, strategist, and champion, the Lewis Howard Live Show provides you the insider's view on winning. All we do is win, 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 helping you become the best version of yourself. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Couldn't wait to get up and do another show for you guys. So I hope everybody's doing well around the world and wherever you're watching. Right? Sometimes people watch live, and other times people download it from the audio portion or the video. However you get it, cool. I just saw something on one of my social media pages, and that I wanted to just kind of share. And it was one of the connections that I have. And happened to know this person personally that was talking about being down after having a great year or a great time, and just feeling in the doldrums. Got plenty of support, but feels like kind of missing it. And I can relate to that. And I thought it'd be good just to throw a few thoughts out there. Is I've learned over the years of my tenure in life and working with folks, opportunities, business partnerships, and so forth. There's two times I think where you can feel like empty, right? And one, I think, is when you give your all to a project, whatever it is, an opportunity, and you complete it. There's a sense of almost exhaustion. Closest thing I could relate to that I don't know personally would be, giving labor. Imagine when women are done, it is exhausting. And there is this thing called postpartum depression that people go into. And I think in business, people do have post-success depression. I've experienced it a number of times where you had a big project, you did well, and everybody said, great job. Boy, but I went home and I just crashed. And so it does happen. And it is very common to have it. And it can not be a lingering problem, or it could be a lingering problem, right? And it's a little bit different than depression or things that, there's a mental element to that needs to be treated. And certainly if you have any kind of depression or anything beyond that, then I recommend that you connect with a mental health professional that can, guide you through some processes there. But this is more that high that you have when you do something big and all of a sudden you finish it, and there's a bit of a letdown. What do I do next? I'm done, or that's closed up. What do I start? And it is an interesting place, because what I learned sometimes about life is success can be lonely. Leadership can be lonely, because success really, even though if 100,000 people are cheering you, it's a bit isolatory because you're the individual or part of the group that had put the success out there. And so it is easy to feel that letdown. And so the key is, right, the key number one is it's not uncommon, right? The first thing you start to think is, man, I'm the only one experiencing this. And certainly when you look on social media and those things, it would appear that nobody ever gets depressed. Nobody ever has a down day. Everybody's doing great. I got 3,000 or 4,000 friends, and they all look like they're doing great. Got new cars, great food, houses, and things. And so I refer to those as scenes. Facebook is full of a lot of scenes, or as someone said, a snapshot. But you don't really have the full story. I know many times I've talked to people on Facebook after the fact about what I saw, and what I was told didn't line up with what I heard. I'm like, wow, that's not the scene that come across. So there is this tendency to put our best foot forward, particularly in social media and public platforms, because we want people to think the best of us. We don't want to air our dirty laundry out in public. Nobody wants to do that. That's really not the framework of Facebook, right? Facebook essentially is designed to have positive information, positive posts, positive celebratory. I did this, accomplished this, I bought this, I sold this, I have this, my first house, my last house, whatever it is in your particular RAM. It's not designed for real life. It's not. It's not designed for the real story. And so it's really sad because most people, including famous, high profile people, all do the same thing where they only put their best stuff out there. And they don't want people to know that they had a bad day or many of them on are depressed or have we see a lot on some of the pages or social pages where you start to see that where okay, all of a sudden this person's depressed or this person's had some issues, but nothing leading up to that would let you know that. So number one, you know that it's not long. Number two is you got to find a way to keep moving forward, right? So how do you do that? How do you do that when you have had big success and you've hit that kind of bottom piece? I think the way you do that is you got to set the next goal. You got to achieve the next thing. When you look at great teams that have Super Bowl runs or NBA championship runs or soccer runs or whatever runs that they always reset and they start from ground one, right? What do we want to accomplish this year? And so they don't try to carry last year's momentum because sometimes too much time passes between that. They have to reset. Sometimes they have new members to the team. There's changes on the team. So even the core team that won that championship is not there. So they have to start over, right? So I might be a champion, but I just changed companies. I might be a champion, but I just changed partners. So the last partner wasn't there. The last company wasn't there when I've done all the things that, I've accomplished. So I got to start over. So there's used to be a saying that you're only good as your last hit. You're only good as your last success. And sometimes you have to think about that. You have to put that success to bed and then move on. So the first place you have to move on is emotional, right? You have to mentally move on. And sometimes you're not ready to move on, but you have to find a place where I've got to move on for this, right? Hey, the person is not coming back. The situation is not going to be the same, or the deal is finished and I've got to emotionally move on. Now, I know this personally. It's hard for me to move on because I get emotionally attached to people, places, and things, and I don't want to let go. But one of the things I've learned in life is you've got to find a way to move on, first of all, emotionally. Right. There is a psychological study that says when people have a traumatic accident, that they are sometimes still stuck at the scene of that accident many weeks and months later. Many people can't get behind the wheel of a car after a major accident. Many folks have sleeping disorders develop after major accidents. Many people have trauma shocks, right? Aftershocks. If they hear a noise, all right. So they're still stuck in the scene of that accident and they're not able to move forward. I heard this story and I'll close with this. Years ago, I wanted to be a first responder. I wanted to be an EMT. So I went through and I took the classes to be an EMT and got the training. I got my patch. I have my cool patch says I'm an EMT and I'm a first responder. I know how to do CPR. I know how to patch up blood, gunshots. Pretty much I knew how to do, some of the fundamental stuff that people needed to do, short of administering drugs or anything like that. I was not allowed to do that. But my very first call was somebody that I knew personally that had gone into cardiac arrest and had gone by the time I got to the scene. And I am now in shock, right? I'm breaking out, and people are looking at me like, hey, you're supposed to be the person that's helping us, and you're in shock. But I was just so frozen, right? I couldn't do what I was trained to do, right? And so it was hard for me for many weeks. I mean, there were some times, to be honest, I couldn't even turn the lights out because I kept seeing his face. But eventually, I had to move on. I had to emotionally move on first, and of course, physically move on next. So even in success, you have to move on. Even in tragedies or post-traumatic stress or things that you deal with, you've got to find that way that you can move on emotionally first. And then secondly, connect with something new. Right? You got to connect with something new. If you still stay in the old, you're going to be kind of still waddling around that. So you need to have a new person, a new place, a new thing, a new goal, a new idea, a new something. I just finished my fourth book. And I'm not really here to promote that today, but I got my fourth book done. But I wrote it and finished it because the market is kind of going through a little bit of a change and we're not seeing the numbers we'd like to see. And so I don't want to get stuck in the conversation about what's going on in the market. I want to find a way to be productive. So, hey, let's finish the book. Let's get number 4 out the door. So I can keep myself moving forward. So you have to find a way to emotionally, mentally, physically move forward. If you had financial loss, you don't want to be stuck at the scene, or you made $1 million, you don't want to be stuck at the scene. I've seen more people self-destruct after they made a lot of money because all of a sudden they let the gas off the pedal. They start partying, they start going out, they start doing different things. And all of a sudden the market change, lost a job, spouse left, and all of a sudden they're in a tumble. So there are keys. I mean, it's practical to think about. Number one, it's not uncommon when you have a letdown after big success, or if you've been trying something for a long period of time and it doesn't seem to be giving you the break that you want. There is that tendency as well. So just want to throw that thought out there. Just was sharing, and I did reply back to my buddy, kind of give him some insight on that. But the struggle is real, right? Success is lonely. And you see the scenes of people's lives, but you don't get the story. If you got behind most famous people's lives, or most people maybe that you admire on Facebook, I don't think you'd be as enamored, because you would find they're more ordinary than you think. Hey, this is Lewis Howard. Join us again. I always throw these out here. We're coming to you with some full shows back again. But meanwhile, I just want to keep throwing some updates at you. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Every great champion knows that success, overcoming, and winning in life is no accident. Creating individual success is like having a recipe for a great meal. It only works if you know how to use the ingredients. As a best-selling author, entrepreneur, business coach, strategist, and champion, the Lewis Howard Live Show provides you the insider's view on winning. All we do is win, 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 helping you become the best version of yourself.